Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you guys can see, I'm trying to do this in natural lighting, so I'll come a bit over roughly. This video, I'm just going to tell you guys roughly a nail salon roughly that has announced roughly that, and I've selected these this nail salon roughly. They've come out with that they are opening on March the 8th, and roughly what I done, I basically have booked an appointment for March the 8th. They've got to confirm it, but the thing is, roughly I've just put roughly I'm new, and I says I know we're in lockdown, but I want to basically book my appointment ready, so roughly when we come out of lockdown, roughly I have something special to go to, which I'm having a full set of acrylics with a gel polish, and I'll either be going with white coffin acrylic nails, or I'll be going pink just for my first set, and then maybe I'll go a little bit more advanced. I just want to keep it simple just there roughly, because unfortunately with my natural nails is they are snapping, they are cracking, they're doing all sorts, and they're in pretty good strong health, but the thing is I want something new. But I want this video to be about how the gender clinic now works than when I first got diagnosed back in 2012. Yeah, that's a long time. If you didn't know, this isn't the first time I've been to the gender clinic. I went to the gender clinic back in 2012, and back then roughly I was very nervous. Physically I was ready roughly to transition. Mentally I was not. And when they would see me roughly, the waiting time, I believe back in 2012 was only a year. Roughly you didn't have to wait really long roughly for the gender clinic. Now versus 2021, roughly you have to wait about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, maybe I think the list is going up to 3 now. And my cousin's now son roughly has come out as trans, so he's a female to male. Roughly his name is Eric roughly, so hopefully I can help mentor him, because I've been through the entire system a couple of times, and I'm on hormones, so. But back in 2012 roughly the waiting list is quite long. No, I mean now the waiting list is quite a decent amount, but the thing is I used it to my advantage, and I'll talk about that later. But the thing is, back in 2012 roughly, when you get your first letter when your time is up, you have to confirm your appointment. Back then you had to write to them or phone them. Now you can just phone them, and every time I received an appointment I was like, I'm making sure you know roughly I'm coming roughly, and that I'm okay to come. And I remember when I had the gender clinic way before 2012, I got to my second appointment, and my third one I couldn't make, and at the time I wasn't on contract with my phone, and I missed my appointment, and I had to start the whole thing again. This is what you'll have to realise: if you miss one appointment, or even if you miss it once roughly, it's okay, but if you miss it a second time, they will basically reschedule you, so you have to go back to your doctor and start the process all over again. So be very, 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 very careful. And when I was diagnosed in 2012, I received my first letter, and I was dead excited. I was like, yes, hormones, here I come. Roughly my hard times have changed. And back then I did not know a lot. I knew a certain amount about basically hormones, surgery, roughly. I knew certain things what hormones would do, but I didn't know going into this roughly that it'd be a bit more complicated than you think. I didn't know what they were going to ask me. I didn't know they were going to go into such detail, and they do. On your first appointment, it's slightly lightheaded, roughly. They get to know you a bit, roughly, a bit about your background. It's just so they can get a picture of you, roughly. And they talk about, you know, your downstairs region. They also ask you, are you male to female or are you female to male? And your first appointment is with one person. Your second appointment literally is with a different person. Then your third appointment is with them combined. That's how it was back in 2012. And this time, back in 2012 when I had my second appointment, they go ham. Like really, really hard. They ask you loads of questions. They dig into your family, they dig into your sex life. They go proper in. Now, when I first had my appointment in 2020, hang on. Hey, baby! If you're wondering who I'm talking to my dog. Hey, puppy! Can you get off my show? I'm trying to record. But where was I? My first appointment was with Laura, roughly, and I was very nervous, because this is a different gender clinic, but my old gender clinic was quite close to, I'd say it was a little bit further away from where I am. Now this one I go to is, I'd say, a bus ride away. The last one was 2 bus rides away. And they moved that clinic from when I was back in 2012. That's it. Back in 2012 to my current gender clinic. And I never knew that. And she was like, right, first of all, let's get started. In 2020, when I first went, I had bright red hair. How times have changed. Hey, Pepper. But she says, oi. Do you have a dog that does that? Yeah, stop. Get in your bed. Lie down. Bed, lie down. One. Oi. Get in your bed. That's not your bed, that's mine. But anyway, my first appointment this year was basically her just backtracking a little bit. She was talking about how they have my old files, and they were looking back at those files, and she was like, right, we need to fill in a couple of years. She says, because it's been quite a while since we've seen you. And they were repeating a lot of questions that they asked me back in 2012. My sex life, have I had any boyfriends, what am I wanting, and I don't know why, but for some reason I was less nervous than I was back in 2012. I mean, I'm now going to go into my second appointment, because the first appointment is just the basics, and that roughly, and they'll also ask you if you are male to female. You can get funding for laser hair removal, you can get hormones, you can have surgery, and that all this shit. And they don't talk a lot about it, but they basically tell you the logistics. But your second appointment, my second appointment back in 2012 was with a doctor called Nick, and I can't remember his face back in 2020. He's my main doctor, and I get to see him every so often. I think next time I'm most probably seeing him, because I mostly see Laura at the moment, because he's quite busy of late, and I was very nervous because I was talking to a bloke about personal problems with my dysphoria, and he told me roughly that he says that when he see me for the first time, he says he didn't see male, he saw female. And like I've told him, I says, yeah, a lot of people tend to see that. There are some people that call me out, but then there are those that don't even know. And I told him the occasion where I had a bald head. I wasn't wearing makeup, my eyebrows were done, I had long nails, and I was wearing female clothing. And a priest didn't know I was trans and called me female. And back then my sister, and I told them back then, even now, that a lot of my family call me Nikki, roughly, and refer to me as their brother, the son, you name it. But that's my family, and I told them back then that I will not force my opinions on people within how I live my life to people, and they understood. And he was basically telling me, it was like, oh, to process on to the next stage, you have to have your name changed. And back then I didn't have it changed. I was known as Nicholas, and I stopped going after that appointment because, for one, I didn't change my name, which was very stupid. But the thing is, back then, physically I was ready, mentally I wasn't. But I also missed that appointment. And forward to 2020, for my second appointment, it was supposed to be with Dr. Nick, but it got changed to someone else. And I personally think that on that second appointment, if it was with my original doctor, I probably would have got hormones there and then, because he knows a lot about me. Oh, and just so you know, on your back in 2012, I had to build a profile on my second appointment with Dr. No, it was on my first appointment. Ready for my second appointment, you have to build a kind of, it can be a letter and stuff roughly about who you are, why you feel the way you do roughly, and certain things that go off in your life, just so they can get a good background. And advanced to 2020 roughly, and the second appointment for me was exactly like the first appointment roughly. It was with a complete different woman, and Pepper. And I was extremely nervous because I did not know this woman roughly. My first appointment, I was not nervous because I knew Laura and I remember her, but this woman was completely different, and she was just basically asking me the same, like, what do you want out at the clinic and that, literally, and it was just the same stuff. And the second appointment was the vigorous one where they probably go into detail. And with each appointment, it can be between a month to 2 months to 3 months to 4. So the waiting time is different because there are more and more people coming out as trans, because more and more people are being okay with who they are. And what I did, I'm going to backtrack back to my first appointment. I made sure I provided every document I had. I gave them bank statements, I gave them benefit details roughly. I also gave them college certificates, so they could say, because what you have to do, you have to show determination, and determination is what they want roughly, and you have to have background knowledge of what you want to go into, surgeries and hormones especially. Make sure you gather a lot of information about your hormones. But now going into my third appointment was officially with my original doctor, Dr. Nick. And when he first, I was waiting there, I think I was about 10 minutes early in that shit, and he came into the waiting room and went, Lena, like that, and then he looked at me and he went, wow, like that, and he just had that, you know, that shocked face. And then as we were going up the stairs, like, you've changed. And I was like, is that a good thing? Like that. And then when we got into the waiting room, he just sat down and I was like, I knew I'd see you again. And I was like, you did? And he went, yeah. He says, I knew one day you'd be back. And he says, but he says, I know back then, roughly, he says, I think you physically ready, roughly. And I says, yeah. I says, physically I was ready, mentally I wasn't. And he says, right. He says, it's Elena now, is it? And I went, yeah. I says, I've gone for a more feminine name. And it was like, I've looked at your file, and he says, you've been through a lot. And that lot this year, we've had deaths in the family, roughly, as you guys know. There's a few that you don't know of. I dealt with situations with my brother, my mother, certain family members. I'm not going into detail, But roughly, it was like, right, he says, let's fill in these gaps, he says, and then we can get on to a discussion. And I started filling in the gaps, and he says, I told him, I says, the last person I seen, because what she says to me is she was talking about, you know, the downstairs region. That's what I refer it to. And when they call it the P word, it makes me cringe, physically cringe. And in my second appointment, when she was talking about it, it was making me really uncomfortable. And when Dr. Nick was observing me, roughly, not physically, but fingers roughly, he was looking at my finger, how I was acting, and when he was talking about it, I was like doing that with it, and I still do it to this day. And that he said, and I says to him, I says, that woman says my dysphoria got worse. He says it has got a little bit worse. He says, but he says, I won't say it's like a lot worse than that lot. And he says to me, he says you've been busy. He says, I can physically see it. He says, and he says, I can see it from everything you provided. He says, you provided your details, he said, of everything you've done. He says, within the first appointment. I says, yeah. I says, I was more ready this time. And he says, I know, he says, you've had to wait for that stupid waiting list, roughly. He says, because it's like 1 year to 2 years. I says, I enjoyed it. He went, what? And I says to him, I says, I enjoyed the waiting list. I says, that helped me prepare to get ready for my official transition. And I also provided roughly work wage slips with my official name with it, and my ID pass with that, and that art issue. He says to me, he says, I don't get many people like that. He says, that enjoyed basically the process. I says, but what people don't realise, I says, if you are not ready before that, I says, this gives you that personal time to get everything in place. And he looked at when I changed my depot, he says, you've been living as a woman for 3 or 4 years. I went, I says, yeah, it's been a while. And I says, I've been through a lot. And he says to me, he says, I know what you want. He says, but I need you to confirm it. Well, because when we start discussing, you know, about my genitalia, and basically me physically and about what's going on in my life and that. And he told me straight away, he's like, I definitely remember you. He says, when I first saw you, he says, I didn't see male. He says, I saw a female that was screaming out for help. And he says to me, he says, because when I did my book, I did a booklet and I described a lot of stuff, and I also put pictures of before and after back in 2012, and he still has that to this day. And when I went to my third appointment, my hair was so much longer than my first appointment, and now it's even longer. And that, it was also, it was brunette, or was it on the verge of going blonde? I don't remember. But he was like, you've changed so much. He says, I'm so proud of you. He says, you've come a long way. And he says to me, he says, right, he says, I know what you want. He says, I can clearly tell what you want. He says, but confirm it for me. He says, and then we can get on to the next stage. He says, what do you want? I says, is there any chance I can go on hormones? I said, I've been waiting for such a long time. I says, and now I'm officially ready. He says, I can give you hormones. He says, give me a second. And he reached to his desk and he got the format, and he got the part where you have to read about the hormones, the effects roughly, and the dangers of basically hormones, how you have to check the back of your legs for basically blood clots and stuff. And it was like, hormones can be dangerous to your health. He says, but we monitor you roughly. And also on my second appointment, they asked, I forgot to mention this, they asked for a blood test. I provided that on my third appointment. And he told me that my testosterone, it was slightly lower than the average males. He says, but your estrogen is a little bit high than what a normal male would. And that, so, like I told him, I says, was it an imbalance? I says, because my doctor confirmed I have a bit of an imbalance. So yeah, that was confirmed, just a tad bit of an imbalance. That's why I have a little bit of a curvy body, and I have a bit of breast tissue naturally. Should have done that. Pepper. But it was like, any questions why you reading this? He says, because I know you're dyslexic. He says, I remember you telling me that specifically years ago. And there was a couple of words I couldn't read, and then there was a couple of questions. And one question I was talking about was testosterone blockers. And I was talking to him and I was like, oh, it's spirolactone roughly amongst that then. I says, and he went, says, someone's done the research. Says, right. Says, I am here to tell you, spironolactone is not really a blocker. It basically, it's something to do roughly with, I think it thins the blood out. He says, but it doesn't actually block the testosterone. It does it a certain way. I can't remember how it does it. But the one that I currently am on is Dectapeptyl, which is one they use. And it officially stops you proper producing. It slows everything, testosterone. Roughly, it proper suppresses it. But they take it down in stages. And when we were talking about the hormones and that, like, he says, right, he says, sign your life away. And I was like, are you sure you want me to do that? I says, I'm not really sure now. That, and he was like, He was like, do you want to go on 1 milligram? And I went, alright, and I'll sign away. And I could not stop smiling. When he told me, he says, right, he says, I'm writing to your doctor. He says, and I am providing you with 1 milligram of one estrogen to take. He says, and you have to take that, I think I had to take that once, or was it twice? It's been such a long time now. But thing is, he was like, I can tell you're happy. He says, because I can see the huge smile and the light in your eyes. He says, you look so happy. I said, I've been waiting for this for such a long time. And he also asked me, he says, right, he says, I'm going to ask you this now. He says, for surgery. He says, so I can make a note of it. He says, for the future purposes. He says, do you want, he says, I know exactly what you want. He says, but do you want it just where they do it in 2 stages, where they just snip the skin roughly and then they start building after? He says, or do you want it all in one go? I says, one go. I says, I want the full works, and the first part of the surgery is where they snip the skin and remove the testes. And I told him, I says, I want the full surgery. I says, that's for me. And he says, yeah. He says, I had a feeling that you'd wanted that. He says, right. And says, you do know you can get funding for basically laser hair removal. Still trying to wait for that to come. I might have to wait till March to just freaking get it fixed up. But laser hair removal should be happening this year. And hopefully surgery. But he was like, you can get funding for the through the NHS, and he says some people do not like to go through the NHS. He says, but what they don't realise is, he says, if you go through the NHS, he says, you get the proper professionals. Wait. Oh, excuse me. He says the professionals that know what they're doing. He says, and they use the right kind of system that targets the hair. And he said, and I says to him, I says, yeah, I says, I'd love that. I says, I'd love to have this officially gone. I says, and I was telling him, roughly, you know, when we was doing our discussion as well, I says, roughly, my facial hair makes me very dysphoric. I says, and I'm having to shave a lot. I says, and it brings me out in so much spots. Can you guys see? I'm coming out in spots down here. So I have to shave. This is a spot and I cut it shaving, hence why it's still healing, because I tend to catch it when I shave. And I says to him, I says, I'm sick of shaving. I says, it's not me. And and he says, we can fix that for you roughly. And he says, well, the process is when you basically start on 1 milligram. He says, then he says on your you have to, when you get your second dose, he says you'll need to have a blood test. And I had that blood test, he says, because we need to see if it goes down naturally or if you need the aid of a blocker. Now for me, my testosterone naturally went down, but it didn't go down as fast as they wanted and as fast as I wanted. Now mine's completely suppressed roughly. I have no more testosterone in me. Oh dear. But yeah, I have black tea, water and black coffee. I don't take milk in my tea and coffee. But every time I had an appointment, because you have it every 3 months, an appointment with it, just to basically see how you're going through your hormones, and they always ask you how you are going. It's like this time roughly, when my results came in, she told me, she says, right, she says, we need to get you up to the full 3 milligram dose, because I was on 2 in the morning, I think, no, 3 in the morning, 2 at night roughly, and I'll be going up to the full 6 milligrams, because that was 5 milligrams, but they call it 3 milligram roughly. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But the thing is, that's what confused me in the first place. But the thing is, she told me, she says, we don't need to worry about your testosterone. She says it's completely suppressed roughly, because I think it was on my 3rd appointment, she told me, she says roughly that we could wait for my testosterone to lower itself naturally. She says it could take ages, she says, but we definitely need a blocker in there. And every time my doctor asked me, they were like, this is what I suggest, but what do you think? And I said, well, you're the doctor. I says, I'm new to this. I says, I don't know what I'm basically what needs to be done. I says, you're the doctor. I says, I will agree with your decision. And when she told me, she says, would you like to go? She says, I personally think to get where you need to be, because you're almost there. She says, you've just got a tad bit to go. She says, we need to build you up to the full, basically 3 milligrams she called it, but thing is, I call it 6 milligrams thanks to a subscriber. And she says the blockers, she says even though it's the month one, she says it's completely suppressed what we needed. And she told me, she says, I'm also going up in dose on my blocker. I am going to the full 3-month one, which is about a 12 point something. So my changes are going to be more physical and stuff. My body is now going to be changing even more. I'm still waiting for my letter because the gender clinic is overflowing because of COVID-19. But the thing is, I'm happy with my results right now. I have so much more confidence and I'm so comfortable in my own body, apart from, you know, when I have to shave and when I have to change my underwear and stuff like that. But the thing is, that's part of my dysphoria when I have to shave, because I tend to get more spots and my skin down here is never smooth. It's slightly smooth but it's dead rough. But the thing is, roughly, it's a long process, roughly, the gender clinic. The thing is, you have to be open to it and you have to be okay with the process. It is long, but it's well worth the wait. I personally do not recommend you go private, because then that you are putting out loads of money that is completely unnecessary. Because if you get your hormones on the NHS, you pay less, because when you go private you have to pay for the counselling, then you have to pay, I think, for something else. With the NHS you don't pay for that stuff. And I've always said, if you're going to do something, do it right, do it the right way, be patient, and know roughly you will get the results that you want. I mean, look at me. Like, sorry. I originally wanted to go private. I decided against that and decided to put my plan of action to go through the NHS. And now look at me, I'm 1 year on hormones. Anyway guys, that's basically the gist and the ins and outs of the gender clinic from 2012 to 2020. There you go, Ham. Any questions, just leave them in the comments or message me privately and I will get back to you. Bye.